from 1936 to 1907 for the Cunard Line. It is currently a hotel, museum, and convention space in Long Beach, California, United States. It is on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places and member of Historic Hotels of America, the official program of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, built by John Brown and Company in Clydebank, Scotland. Tired British ocean liner that operated primarily on the North Atlantic Ocean from 1936 to 1907 for the Cunard Line. It is currently a hotel, museum, and convention space in Long Beach, California, United States. It is on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places and member of Historic Hotels of America, the official program of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, built by John Brown and Company in Clydebank, Scotland. Tired British ocean liner that operated primarily on the North Atlantic Ocean from 1936 to 1907 for the Cunard Line. It is currently a hotel, museum, and convention space in Long Beach, California, United States. It is on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places and member of Historic Hotels of America, the official program of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, built by John Brown and Company in Clydebank, Scotland. Tired British ocean liner that operated primarily on the North Atlantic Ocean from 1936 to 1907 for the Cunard Line. It is currently a hotel, museum, and convention space in Long Beach, California, United States. It is on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places and member of Historic Hotels of America, the official program of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, built by John Brown and Company in Clydebank, Scotland. Tired British ocean liner that operated primarily on the North Atlantic Ocean from 1936 to 1907 for the Cunard Line. It is currently a hotel, museum, and convention space in Long Beach, California, United States. It is on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places and member of Historic Hotels of America, the official program of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, built by John Brown and Company in Clydebank, Scotland. Queen Mary sailed on her maiden voyage on 27 May 1936 and won the Blue Ribbon that August. She lost the title to SS Normandy in 1937 and recaptured it in 1938, holding it until 1952, when the new SS United States claimed it. With the outbreak of World War II, she was converted into a troop ship and ferried Allied soldiers during the conflict. On one voyage in 1943, she carried over 16,600 people, still the record for the most people on one vessel at the same time. Following the war, Queen Mary returned to passenger service and, along with Queen Elizabeth, commenced the two-ship transatlantic passenger service for which the two ships were initially built. The pair dominated the transatlantic passenger transportation market until the dawn of the jet age in the late 1950s. By the mid-1960s, Queen Mary was aging and operating at a loss. After several years of decreased profits, Cunard officially retired the Queen Mary from service in 1967. Bought by the city of Long Beach to function as a restaurant, museum, and hotel, she left Southampton for the last time on 31st October 1967 and sailed to the port of Long Beach, where she was permanently moored. After undergoing extensive refurbishment and Queen Mary opened to the public in 1971 and has remained operational since. With Weimar Germany launching Bremen and Europa into service, the United Kingdom and its shipping companies did not want to be left behind in the shipbuilding race. White Star Line, Cunard's chief British rival, began construction on the 80,000-ton Oceanic in 1928, while Cunard planned a 75,000-ton unnamed ship. Cunard's chief naval architect, George McLeod Patterson, was the principal designer. Construction on the ship, then known only as Hull No. 534, began in December 1930 on the River Clyde by the John Brown and Company shipyard at Clydebank in Scotland. Work halted in December 1931 due to the Great Depression, and Cunard applied to the British government for a loan to complete 534. The government granted the loan, providing enough money to complete the unfinished ship, and also to build a running mate to provide a two-ship weekly service to New York. Commanded by Sir Edgar Britton, Queen Mary sailed on her maiden voyage from Southampton on 27 May 1936. She sailed at high speed for most of her maiden voyage to New York until heavy fog forced a reduction of speed on the final day of the crossing, arriving in New York Harbor on June 1, 1936. A Queen Mary baggage tag. Queen Mary's design received criticism for being too traditional, especially when Normandy's hull was revolutionary with a clipper-shaped streamlined bow. Except for her cruiser's stern, she seemed to be an enlarged version of her Cunard predecessors from the pre-First World War era. Her interior design, while mostly Art Deco, seemed restrained and conservative when compared to the ultramodern French liner. Nonetheless, Queen Mary proved to be the more popular vessel than her rival in terms of passengers carried. In August 1936, Queen Mary captured the Blue Ribbon from Normandy with average speeds of 30.14 knots, 55.82 kilometers per hour, 34.68 miles per hour, westbound, and 30.63 knots, 56.73 kilometers per hour, 35.25 miles per hour, eastbound. In 1937, Normandy received a new set of propellers and reclaimed the Blue Ribbon. However, in 1938, under the command of Robert B. Irving, Queen Mary took back the Blue Ribbon in both directions, 23 with average speeds of 30.99 knots, 57.39 kilometers per hour, 35.66 miles per hour, westbound, and 31.69 knots. Arthur Joseph Davis of Messrs. Muse and Davis and Benjamin Wistar Morris designed the Queen Mary's interior spaces. The Bromsgrove Guild constructed much of the ship's interior, while H. Martin and Company built the staircases, foyers, and entrances. 25. Among the facilities available on board Queen Mary, the liner featured 2 indoor swimming pools, telephone connectivity to anywhere in the world, outdoor paddle tennis courts, and dog kennels. The largest room on board was the cabin-class main dining room, Grand Salon, spanning 3 stories in height and anchored by wide columns. The ship had many air-conditioned public rooms on board. The cabin-class swimming pool facility spanned over 2 decks in height. This was the first ocean liner to be equipped with her own Jewish prayer room, part of a policy to show that British shipping lines avoided the anti-Semitism evident in Nazi Germany. 26. The cabin-class main dining room featured a large map of the transatlantic crossing, with twin tracks symbolizing the winter-spring route. Woods from different regions of the British Empire were used in her public rooms and staterooms. Accommodation ranged from fully equipped, luxurious cabin, first-class staterooms, to modest and cramped third-class cabins. Artists commissioned by Cunard in 1933 for works of art in the interior include Edward Wadsworth and A. Duncan Carr. Arriving in New York Harbor June 20, 1945, with thousands of U.S. soldiers in late August 1939, Queen Mary was on a return run from New York to Southampton. The international situation led to her being escorted by the battlecruiser HMS Hood.
Following Queen Mary's permanent docking in California, claims were made that the ship was haunted. These claims began in earnest in the 1980s, possibly done by employees to increase business or spook guests, and have grown since then. In 2008. Magazine included the Queen Mary among its top 10 haunted places. One of the staterooms is alleged to be haunted by the spirit of a person supposedly murdered there. Other legends include a young girl who haunts the ship's former second-class pool and a father who murdered his 2 daughters on board. However, there is no historical record to support these claims, as no person was murdered aboard the ship. Most deaths aboard the ship were due to natural causes. Further Center for Inquiry.